Not a lot.
Not a lot. Sorry about my delay. It's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks at work, man.
Hey, you're good. You don't have to apologize for nothing.
I felt so bad because the other day I was like, yeah, Monday. Yeah, we'll change the time. And all of a sudden I realized I'm at work until probably like 9 on Monday. So
Yep.
I
You're
appreciate
good.
you rolling with it, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm good.
Well, so great job on the show notes, as always.
I try.
You're crushing it. And hey, everybody, real quick, just welcome to the chat. You guys are awesome.
Right.
So the comments already going on. Matt, what's up? Colin,
Matt,
Jake, Nightman616 jumping on in.
Jake, Nightman. Man, everyone's
jumping in. I appreciate you guys. I feel like y'all had the alerts on. I mean, come on.
Smokes.
It is the fam in the house. Matthew couldn't have said that better. Let's go. W Podcast.
I'm telling you. They joined the Dub Squad.
The Dubs. I know the way you say it though. The way you say the Dub Squad. I'm like, I gotta join. How do I join? Is this a sign up sheet? I don't know what it is, but I gotta get it. So,
yeah, monthly payments of $4.99.
Dude, I'd do it.
I did.
There you go. Yeah, the Dub. Yeah, let's go. So. Well, I got about an hour is the block of time I have today. So if you're up for it, man, we can just jump right on in again.
Yeah, I say if you've got about an hour, I say we just go straight into baseball.
Yeah?
Yeah, we can hit some of the football stuff next week.
Okay, cool. We'll have a little more time. So especially, on the YouTube side of it. So we can do that because to me, that sounds like you got a lot going on with the with baseball happening. You're like, I got notes, man. we gotta get this going.
Well, I mean, we've got plenty of time to hit the combine and all that stuff. Yeah. Before the draft and free agency, it hasn't really fully got swinging. So yeah, I think we should just go. We'll go baseball again this week and just hit it all.
I have one combine guy that I really liked. So we'll talk about it. Hopefully I won't forget between now and then.
Yep, no, it works for me.
Good deal. All right, so those that are in the chat right now, I want you to see. We just put in our fantasy, ESPN fantasy, whatever tournament bracket challenge. So Tubby's already put it together, and you'll want to see how you do against the Dub Squad. Not even against just me or Tubby, but you want to see how you rank against everybody else. So use this as one of your brackets. We would greatly appreciate it. Who knows? Maybe there's a prize for the winner. Who knows? Maybe I'm just saying.
Maybe you never know.
Yeah, we got a new logo out, and so maybe you're gonna get some swag on that. So, I'm just saying. All right, so I did put the show notes. We'll have some football, so we'll see what we get to on the baseball side of it, and if there's any on the back end we can talk about with the free agency stuff because clearly they're listening. In the video that you put up, that you found the receipts on, I thought that was great.
Yeah, I was like, I know for sure. I said this on the podcast. I gotta go find it real quick, just so. I mean, they just gotta listen. I mean, it's plain and simple.
I thought you were gonna go on the YouTube also and like get the video footage.
Yeah,
it would have been tough.
I didn't think about that part. Yeah,
yeah, Matt, appreciate that, man. The Dub Squad is the best. We love it. So I just put it up on the screen. So if you're watching YouTube afterwards, don't worry. The tournament hasn't even been decided yet. But just pre-plan, all right? Pre-plan. We'll mention it again on next week's Monday night episode where it's real fresh and you'll have a couple more days right before the round of 64 starts. I don't really care about the round of 68. I don't really care about those playing games. But the actual first round, that one I care about. And we'll make sure we plug it next week too. So
those first 4 games are important, though.
I know they're important, but I don't care.
Because, and I may be, showing my hand a little bit, but one of those teams – every year, I think for the last 9 years, has made since this this whole thing's started, the play-in part has happened, made it to at least the round of 36, maybe the Sweet 16 every single year.
Okay, all right. So I didn't know that. We'll have to maybe there's a deep dive there for you.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Make sure I hit the right button here. I feel like it's been more than a week because it's been the extra day. So. All right. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the Dub Squad. The W Podcast is live right now as I'm recording this with, of course, the co-host, I mean, just the host of the year award, I think, goes to Tubby with all the hard work he puts into this.
I don't know about that. I mean, you run the ship. I mean, you steer everything.
Come on, man.
I just talk a lot.
And I think you're the face of the Dub Squad. I think that's what it is. You know, people are drawn to Tubby. That's just what it is, and it's
I
probably
did.
different Tulsa Driller hats you got on.
Yeah, I went with the the more
Classic. I love that.
Yeah,
one.
the classic. Yeah, got the T-Town Clowns, the Tulsa. It was the
City Night.
Negro League.
Oh,
No, it was their. Yeah, they had a Negro League back in the day, and basically turned into the Drillers.
Oh, okay. Well, super
Yeah.
cool. I mean, hey, love that. I wonder if I could find that at the museum here in Kansas City.
I'm sure you probably could.
Good. Okay. Well, anyways, welcome back everyone to another episode of the W Podcast. If you didn't know, again, we're live on YouTube as we record this. There's a chat. You can jump in, be a part of the conversation because I'll be honest, even last week's episode, we brought in questions from you guys, the listeners. So keep that up. Today, we are coming at it with AL East and NL East conversations with some predictions. As baseball season's here, the World Baseball Classic is pretty much almost underway. So, man, everybody's out there. Injuries, unfortunately, have become a topic, so we'll get into that. And if we have time today, we may hit a couple things on the football world, so stick with us. It's going to be a fun ride, but most importantly, it's just going to be a good time to talk about some baseball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said it better.
Good enough.
Great time to talk some baseball.
Oh, yeah. So, best stadium in baseball, go. I'm just throwing out a random question here.
Yeah, I've never been to an actual MLB stadium.
Have you played MLB The Show ever?
I have.
Okay, so what's your go-to stadium there?
I'm a Dodgers fan, so I'm gonna go Dodger Stadium all the time.
Okay, so outside of the Dodger Stadium, you got to pick another one. Come on now.
I'm going to Fenway.
Wow. Okay.
Green Monster. Okay. Yeah.
I thought maybe even though you hate the Giants, like that's a great ballpark.
It's the history. You know me, I'm a history guy when it comes to sports. So
that makes sense. I'm not against it. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I like my history.
Yes, yeah. Colin in the chat just put AL East, baby. Yes. So I mean that's what we're going. That's what we're going to start today is in the AL, because last week we did the AL West and the AL Central. So we're going to move again across the continent to the AL East, and we'll jump down also to the National League with some NL East, which might be the best division in all of baseball. And that's tough to say because last year we had the Padres and the Dodgers won 155 games or whatever it was. So I'm just saying. So here we go. So big thoughts here to start the year on the AL East is the favorites last year were the Yankees. I mean, they still have, they don't have a great nickname yet for Aaron Judge, really. Like the Hambino, the Bambino, like nothing like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen one of those pictures, those memes, where it's the great Hambino? You know what I'm talking about from Sandlot?
Yeah.
So it says here in this picture, it's one of the greatest baseball players, sluggers of all time. Oh, and Aaron Judge.
And Aaron Judge. Yeah.
It's so simple and so dumb.
I mean, it's a classic movie. You can't go wrong with Sandlot.
It is. Definitely is. So we're going to move on. We're going to start with then the Yankees. So I think without a doubt they have to be the favorite, despite the fact that it's another year where you look at the Toronto Blue Jays and they have so much talent on this team. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is still a hitting machine. And I don't know. I would just love to see, like, is the gap closing or is it still the same? Did they do enough?
I mean, some people may not have the Yankees as the favorites. Just saying.
Is it you?
It is me.
Okay, let's go. We already got one. I know we're gonna have someone here who's gonna be really happy with that. Colin's. I bet it's Colin.
No, Colin is a Blue Jays fan.
I know.
So
is he gonna be happy with this?
He's definitely happy because I think this is the year they put it together. And so last week in the podcast, I kept on getting mixed up. I kept on saying, "Oh, the team was desperate of left-handed bats." I was meant to be talking about the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Okay.
And they went out and got left-handed bats to help that lineup.
Yes.
And
Brandon Belt, Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah.
So some
Dalton Varsho.
That's true. Dalton Varsho. There's a young guy. Okay.
And I think the pitching is going to be better. And depends on how fast Tiedemann can come up. If Tiedemann can come up, depending on how well Berrios can bounce back, is the biggest thing. I mean, Barrios' season last year was absolutely atrocious. But Gosman pitched great. You got, Manoah. I feel like there's something there. And there's something about the Yankees that, yeah, they went out and got Rondon. And they, can Severino stay healthy? I don't think so. I mean, he hasn't proven over the last 4 years that he can stay healthy and be a, reliable arm in the rotation. And then Nestor Cortez already hurt. I mean, doesn't look like it's too bad of an injury, but still, there's already he's already injured at the beginning of the season. Montez sounds like he's out for the season, so that takes a big hit on your rotation. And my biggest question is, what did you do besides the Rondon to get better? Your offense is the exact same as it was last year. Now older.
It is. So we're gonna park here for a second just on the Yankees, because that's what it sounds like. That's where you're leaning. It's not necessarily like pro. It's not all pro Blue Jay yet. It's mostly, hey, let's look and see what the champions did last year. So I know a lot of people are not. I still do like Gleyber Torres. Aaron Judge, I think it's stupid to hit him above number 3 in the lineup. I don't understand it. Like, more at bats. Yeah, but let the dude rake and get RBIs by having him hit guys in. But Rizzo is okay. I mean, I think he might have a bump this year with the shift being banned. I think that can help him. And there's a little side note we can get on the shift here in just a second that we already predicted, and it is happening. But we'll talk about it. Harrison Bader, if he stays healthy. Josh Donaldson, they got to move on. I am not a fan of Josh Donaldson. I don't think they even want to use Josh Donaldson, but I think you're right. You look at the bottom of this lineup, there's really not a whole lot to be afraid of. Harrison Bader's definitely got speed. And then Oswald Peralta does too, but there's not a whole lot else besides that. So it's not as deep of a lineup as you might have compared it to in previous years. Obviously, backup catcher is not going to hit very well. IKF, he's good. He's a good role player, a utility player. He's going to play a lot of different positions, and DJ LeMahieu's also there. So I think you got a good point. The biggest thing is Garrett Cole. If you get into a series, if you get Garrett Cole and a solid Carlos Rodon and a healthy Luis Severino, you get a best of 5, you should be able to win 3 games. You get a best of 7, you should be able to win close to 4. That's what I think is the offense will have to come with it, and I think they can trade pieces, but their starting rotation, their top 3 are that good.
But see, I'm not saying that they'd be tough in the playoffs. I'm just saying that they may not win the division.
Okay.
I have the Blue Jays, and also though you're putting a lot on Severino if you think that he can come in and be a 35 start pitcher. I don't know if it happens. I mean, the injuries have just compiled on each other every single year, and just when you think he's healthy, boom, here comes an injury. He's pitching great, all this stuff. And then, elbow issue, or he has pulled his side, did something to his back. It's something every single year, and I don't trust that. And like I said, Cortez, I would take Cortez as my third starter over Severino. I think Cortez proved last year that he was a really solid pitcher. He may not have the best second half of the season, but he was dinged up a little bit in the second half. So, I mean, but he is already hurt. Doesn't sound like it's too serious, and that you probably won't miss much time. Maybe one start or something at the beginning of the season. But then I don't know. I don't trust the Yankees, just because who's going to score? Yeah. Besides Judge, and I think if they were smart, they would find a way to bring up Anthony Volpe, because that one way gives you, he can hit for average, and when he gets on base, the dude is just a nightmare. He had 50 stolen bases last year in the minor leagues. He was the first player since Andrew Jones to have a 2050 season in the minor leagues.
Insane. And I think you're right. Volpe I think he's got a good chance to make it this year, partially because of some of the weaknesses in the lineup that we just talked about. Those who don't know, Anthony Volpe, AAA last year, he plays shortstop. They've already expressed interest in being able to move on from guys like Donaldson or even Gleyber Torres. I would just move Torres over, and I would see if he can handle the third base and then move on from Donaldson. I just think it's just an empty position. He's not the same defensive guy that he used to be. But I think you're right.
The bat is gone too. for Donaldson.
Dude's almost 40. He's 37 this year.
Yeah, he's not the bringer of rain anymore.
No, and it's been some time. And whenever I'm looking up Severino's number line, it reminds me so much of what the Cardinals have right now with Jack Flaherty, because it hasn't been good. It hasn't had consistent innings, hasn't had anything solid since 2019. And it's just so frustrating because the talent is clearly there. In the last 3 years have just, like you said, injuries, shoulders, knee, leg, whatever it is. So hopefully they can have healthy. But if they do, that is a solid rotation right there. And then you look not as solid as it has been in the past in the bullpen. Clay Holmes, they're looking more of a fire guy, not necessarily a classic saves guy. This is like, a lot of times it's just by committee anyways at this point. And no more Aroldis Chapman. So,
and we saw the second half of Clay Holmes too last year. That first half, the dude was lights out. A 1.6 ERA. Something
exactly
crazy
back in the day.
Yeah, unhittable. And then the second half of the season was just, it didn't look like the same guy. It looked like you went up and picked someone out of the independent league and said, "Hey, come be our closer." And so that's another big question: can he be the shutdown guy at the end of the game and close the door for you? So I feel like there's more questions than a lot of people are looking at and going, "Oh, well, they've got Judge back, they got Cole, they got Rondon." I don't disagree with that. I think Peraza could be a really good player also, but Stanton's not the same guy. Can't stay healthy either. And so there's just not a whole lot of protection, I don't think, in that lineup for Judge. And if teams wanted to, do what they did at the end of the season last year and just pitch around him.
Yeah, they did do that quite a bit, to the despise of everybody watching every time they tuned in and they let us watch the walk or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. Giancarlo Stanton has not had over 500 at-bats except one time since 2018. So part of that was 2020 shortened season, but even that year he only played half the games. So he's not getting any younger. So last year still had a productive year with 31 home runs overall, but just wasn't scoring a lot. You mentioned that was already a big concern. So the Yankees are going to be a competitive team. I think you'd have to look at, so if they're not going to win the division, they won 99 games last year. They were off to a huge start in the beginning of the year, scorching. The Blue Jays had 92 wins, the Rays 86. The Rays will not go away. Orioles surprised everybody with 83, and the Red Sox were Devin's pick to win the World Series. So, we're not gonna bring it up. Okay, Tubby, we're not gonna bring it up.
I'll bring it up. I was absolutely 100% wrong.
Yeah, that one did not go well.
No.
So, that's what Matt said earlier in the chat. He goes, "I bet it's not the Red Sox and who we're predicting to win." So
no,
we don't make the same mistake twice. So, all right. So the Yankees, do you think they get over 90 wins?
Yeah, I will say somewhere around the 91, 92 wins. I think it's going to be a very close race. I don't think it's going to be anyone that's going to, jump out too hugely, blow everyone away, 106 wins and win the division by 10, 15 games. I don't think that happens. I think it's going to be a close race between those three teams you just mentioned, the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's move over to, I'm guessing, your projected champion of this division with the Toronto Blue Jays.
It is.
This is a lineup that's it has some new faces with Brandon Belt, Kiermaier, like we mentioned. Whit Merrifield is there now. Matt Chapman, I think he's great defensively. I'm not really trusting his bat a whole lot. It seems like he's sold out for a lot of power. But I think you're right. This team there's a lot more to love about this team's offensive line. And last year they were top 5 in almost every single category offensively, except for home runs. They were 7th, and still in bases they weren't very high either. But this team defensively is going to bring it. Yeah,
I say offensive-wise, I think they'll be fine. And bringing in Varsho and Belt, he's not the most flashy guy anymore. But if he can stay healthy, and that's another if he can stay healthy, he's still a solid left-handed bat. Kiermaier, he's going to be able to let you move Springer from center field to right field now. And so maybe not as much wear and tear on Springer in center field. I mean, we've seen the last couple of years. We saw the scary, collision with him and Bichette in the wild card round last year. So maybe be able to save him. Maybe his offense numbers will be a little bit better. He did make an all-star team last year, but I think the rotation will be better. I think Barrios will figure something out. I think if he not, I think Tiedemann can come in and granted it's a short sample size, but the kid, you watch him pitch and he looks like one of the next aces coming through the minor leagues. The combination of the slider and or yeah, I think it's a slider and fastball combination is just insane. And then he can hit the spot. Like I mean, he peppers the zone. It's
Yeah.
yeah. And so I feel like there's just something there. The bullpen is the one thing that I'm scared about a little bit, just because it's not the best, but they try to go out and make some moves. And one of them, what I wasn't too happy about was with the Teoscar Hernandez trade. I wasn't a huge fan of that trade because the guy that they brought in, he had one good year in his whole career, and he's like 32 years old.
We're talking about Eric Swanson.
Yeah,
We're talking about
yeah, and Romano, he was a great closer, and so can he redo what he did last year? It's just bullpens are always a question mark from year to year. So that's my one big worry about them. But I feel like they will have someone around the 94 wins and win the division by a couple games.
Yeah, and if you look at their bullpen, what's different about them from some of the other teams we've even really talked about is almost everybody on their projected bullpen. Now it's going to change a little bit throughout the year, but everybody right now has at least 3+ years of experience. So they've been through the ringer, they've been through a full season, so they've seen a lot. So maybe they haven't had consistent great year after year after year. But the one thing I do like about a more experienced bullpen is you understand it more. There's less maybe extreme volatility. You look at some of the other teams that have high volatility, but guys who can throw 102, they just haven't seen it, so they haven't been in those moments. So this is a team that has, and they have depth at a lot of key spots. Even how many teams can say, yeah, we have 2 catchers we'd love to start every night? I mean, I just don't think there's that many, and they do have that. And like you said, they're going to have the ability. We know what Kevin Biggio is. He's a decent 5th infielder at best. Like, not that great. His only great year was when the ball was juiced in 2019, and since then he's really kind of come down a little bit. But he's a solid backup, like a good guy to get a day off for some of these other guys. So I think you're right. Jose Barrios has to figure it out to be more consistent. He at times looked incredible, and at times was all over the place. And you're like, who is this guy? They traded so much to get him, and he's got a decent deal. So, but I've always been a fan of Kevin Gausman. Alek Manoah showed he was no slouch last year. And you look at their top 4 guys; they're all expected to get a full season. That's what the projections are: is full season. They're not going to miss time or anything like that. So 94 wins is doable for this team. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, and like I said, I don't think it's going to be a runaway like we've seen in past years. But like the Dodgers last year, no one's. I don't know if any of these teams hit the 100-win mark, but I think those 3 teams are going to be right. All 3 of them going to be right around the 90-win mark.
Yeah. Let me see. I was going to see real quick, where do these teams end the year at? Like, because I love it when they end in a division series right then. So they do play each other the last week of September, and the Yankees' last game is at Royals, so I think they'll be all right. But before that, it is against the Blue Jays, and they have 6 games against the Blue Jays late in the year. So it could come down to those 2 series. It really could.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. So you feel good about them? I mean, are you wanting to go ahead and jump on the Boston Red Sox, or do you want to keep working their way down the projections list like you said?
We'll just work the way. I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about the Red Sox.
Sure there is. Come on. We can't forget about the Orioles, but all right. So they got the Rays. Do we get a full year out of Wander Franco? That's my first question.
I don't even know if they know that answer. I don't even know if Wander knows that answer.
It's true.
This is the team where each year that you go, okay, there's going to have to be some time where they finally hit that spot and they just fall off, right? But somehow, Brandon Cashville find some way to win games out of nowhere. Especially last year, the offense was so bad, but yet still win. They win 86 games. You had Lau ended up with 9 home runs, and the year before he hit 30-something home runs. You're like, who's going to score the offense? for him. And that's the biggest question. The pitching's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They have the weird, rotation.
Yeah,
Bullpen's always going to be solid.
last year they ranked in the top starting pitchers ranked in the top 10 in every category, but the big ones ERA, WHIP, and walks. I love how they were number one in fewest walks. So, I mean, they were doing keeping guys off the bases.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Glasnow is out 6 to 8 weeks. So that does hurt the rotation because that was a guy you're expecting to come in and bounce back from the Tommy John surgery after missing all last year. So you thought, okay, he can come back in. Well, he's already hurt. So I mean, it's not really anything we didn't expect. We expected him to get hurt at some point. I guess rather get it over now than in the middle of the season or at the end of the season when you need him the most. So
yeah,
but the question is, where's the offense going to come from? Can Wander stay healthy? Can Brandon Lau bounce back from what he had last year? Can we a Rosarena just kind of keep what he's doing, maybe up the game a little bit?
yeah.
They've got a couple of kids down in the minor leagues that may be able to come up and help, but it's like, how much better are they going to be compared to what you have? I mean, Curtis Mead is a high prospect who could come in and help out. I think probably sooner rather than later, but is it enough to push the Yankees and the Blue Jays?
Yeah, Curtis Mead, for those who maybe not super familiar with the Rays system, which I would understand. I mean, Rays, not looking forward to watching them play a whole lot just because it's really. As far I asked that question earlier, favorite ballpark. Notice you didn't say the Rays. I wonder why. That's weird. Tropicana.
No, even with them, doing renovations.
Dude, these renovations that they should do is demolish it and build an actual stadium.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, Curtis Mead, third baseman, prospect, absolutely high on their list. He's their highest ranking one. He has some good power, good speed. He's a decent fielder. He's a solid prospect. He's one of the top 25 or so in the league, 27 actual rank. But Taj Bradley is another high-ranking one you may have mentioned. He's one of their pitchers. He's going to find a way to get some starts throughout the year. So I think I fully would expect them to do that. Their pitching is always so good because they piece it together. But what we learn in Moneyball, so if you've ever watched the movie Moneyball, we talk about great baseball movies, and that is one of them. That movie, at the end of it, it talks about how baseball game isn't won and lost on paper. And yeah, you can win regular season games when it comes down to analytics and all that stuff, but you have to have players to go out and to win. And when the playoffs come, the sample size is too small to where you can't use the same analytics anymore. And I think that's what kind of why the Rays succeed in the regular season, but why they don't tend to find that success in the postseason. I think we've had that conversation before.
Analytics pretty much cost them the 2020 World Series.
Yeah, Blake Snell.
Yeah, Blake Snell was mowing the Dodgers down. And they said, well, this is going to be the third time through the lineup. Better take him out real quick.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to – are you okay if I just have a tangent real quick?
Go for it.
Okay, so if you always take out – I get it. Blake Snell was usually pretty bad. Our pitchers are worse. Dakota Hudson for the Cardinals, terrible third time through the order. I get it. So you learn to manage it, but also understand that these guys have to learn how to do this at some point. If you never, ever let them work out of a jam in the fourth inning and the fifth inning, they're never going to learn how to get out of a jam. They're never going to learn how to pitch deep into games. They're not going to know what it's going to take for them mentally, physically to be able to do this for 162 games. And analytics and load management and all these little things, pitch counts, are what is ruining people's it's not ruining baseball. Let me put that out there. But it's making players break down quicker. I mean, you think about ever since they started doing this, are people getting hurt less?
No.
People used to play through this stuff, so maybe it's the same. People are like, oh no, don't play. But if you say, oh, every time they get two runners on in the fourth inning, I'm going to take him out. Okay, well, he's never going to figure out how to get out. He's never going to figure out how to rely on his defense. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that, of course he did. We left him in the one time and he blew it. You got to give him reps and understand that a game in April, May, or June, or July, one game is not going to kill your team's chances. And I think on paper, that's what a lot of people think. It's one out.
Yeah. you also have to recognize when your pitcher is on and is just absolutely dominant. No matter what analytics tell you or what past history tells you, the way Snell was pitching in that World Series
Yeah.
game, Dodgers couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
And so you take him out and then you basically just blew your shot.
Yeah. What analytics said put Madison Bumgarner in again?
Yeah, right. And the funny thing is, you bring up the didn't pitch so many innings and stuff like that, and players didn't get hurt. I saw this thing the other day, and it was talking about Bob Gibson. I can't remember exactly the year, but it was showing every start and the amount of innings he pitched.
I saw that too.
And it was like the first 2 games he pitched 7 innings. And after that, I think it was total 32 starts, if I can remember. And every game after that, it was at least 8 innings. And there was a couple of games in there where it was 12, 13 innings.
Yeah.
But every other game was not, pitched
Nine.
complete game. And 32 starts. And he had one of the best careers, one of the best pitchers ever to do it.
Yeah.
It shows you that the analytics and we got to save the arms. Yeah, they're throwing harder nowadays, and so the arm injuries are going to be different. But still, you got this guy throwing 13 innings, a couple times in a season. Who's going to do that ever again? I mean, probably never see it happen again.
Yeah. It frustrates me because I'm like, just take 3 miles an hour off, and I get that's a lot, or 2 miles an hour off, and just put the ball where you want it. Greg Maddux never threw 105.
Oh, I
one and put it where he wants it.
I got a great Greg Maddux stat for you, real quick.
Okay, all right.
You brought it up. I'll go ahead and let it out.
Softball right there. Speaking of Greg Maddux, I threw a softball one right there. Let's see how.
Right? So Greg Maddux had a total of 740 starts in his career.
Okay.
In those 740 starts, he had 236 of the starts where he didn't allow a single walk. And some of you might be going, "Oh, that's not a whole lot." That's 32% of his games he started. He didn't allow a single walk. And it's because he didn't try to overpower everyone. He knew that location is a huge deal. Putting the ball where you want it to be is a lot better than throwing it 105 miles an hour, because one, you're throwing it that hard, it makes it so much easier for the guy to hit a home run. You're supplying so much more of the power for him to hit. So if he makes contact with it, if you leave it just a little bit middle, it's gone in today's day of baseball. Put the ball where it needs to be, and that right there shows it. Just locate the pitch where you need it to be.
Put the ball where you want. Yeah, I think that would help. That's why, as a Cardinal fan, I've been so frustrated the last couple of years with the bullpen. They don't get the ball over the plate. They all try to throw it 104, 103, 102. Jordan Hicks was a terrible starting pitcher because he couldn't get the ball over the stupid plate. This makes me so mad. Colin put it in the chat. I thought it was good. The pitch clock should help pitchers learn how to work out of jams because they won't have enough time to think about it. I think it also get the batter to move on and let's go. So I think that's a good point, Colin, you brought up. So I appreciate that thought because we hadn't brought it up yet. So, all right. So we're back off track a little bit there with that, but that's okay. It's all baseball conversation. So we look at the rotation for, we already talked about that a little bit, but how it's, Zach Eflin. I don't know if anybody knew that that's where he had signed this last year, but it's a solid, I think it's a solid home. And I think you may see him really succeed in the way they do things in the regular season. If you're looking for a solid fantasy option, he's one of those sleeper guys that I would be considering just because of his new home. I think it's going to be a really good fit.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. We already talked to minors. Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot. Anybody that you're really excited about, like if you ended up going to a game that like this is the guy I was excited to see on the offensive side. I mean, Wander Franco's good. He's young. He's a good ball player, but is he the guy you're excited to see? What drawing a fan in?
Nothing offensive wise. I mean, your best player is Shane McClanahan, and he's one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball. But that's every 5 days. So,
which I would
really
like. That's the first thing I check is who's pitching when I'm going to go to the game, because that matters to me. But you're right. Like once every 5 days, you're like, oh, okay.
So, and that could be a big part of it. And Wander could be a big, sell. If he is able to stay healthy and play this year, he has all the ability to be a 5-tool guy and be one of the best shortstops in baseball. But it's the motivation part, I think, is a big part of it. And can he stay on the field?
Yeah, just has not happened yet. He's been in the majors roughly. 22 was his first real year to be in the majors. He was in 21 for a little bit as well, and that I thought was some good success. The good thing is the dude does not strike out. He does a great job of putting the bat on the ball. He walks a good percentage. So last year he just had quite a bit of bad luck, but only played half the season. So you're right. Got to stay healthy. But he has the potential to be that guy. The first one I would say really since I'd say if you look at the history of the Rays, the two big guys that they would hang their hats on that people would show up to watch was Evan Longoria, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one would have been pitcher. What's his face?
David Price
or Archer. One of the two.
Oh yeah, Chris Archer.
Yeah. So I forgot David Price was there for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is he still a Dodger?
No, he retired. Or he stepped away from baseball. Not officially retired, but stepped away from baseball.
He's asked to retire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jose Siri. Yeah. Jose Siri center field. He doesn't have a whole lot. I don't think he has a whole lot of pressure on him this year for them, which hopefully could help him.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to move on to last year's surprise team. We got the Baltimore Orioles. My question is, they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing this offseason, in my opinion. If you think I'm wrong, prove me wrong, but they didn't do a whole lot to change anything. 83 wins, and it's almost like they were surprised they got there and they didn't want to change. Like they weren't ready to pay money to do better.
I think their whole mindset is banking on the young guys to succeed.
Okay. Gunner.
And I mean, and it's not awful because the farm system they have, if all those, if they can pan out, but that's a big if. Baseball's the hardest, sport to really figure out who's going to be great, who's not going to be great. I mean, you look at the draft and how many of these guys get drafted in the first round that never see a day in the majors. So, you banking on this, on your guys, hitting is, difficult. I mean, you got Adley, you got Gunner this year, and there's potential that Colton Cowser could come up at some point. Grayson Rodriguez we're finally going to get to see Grayson Rodriguez in the rotation. And so, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about because they're young. They got some, younger guys that have already produced in the major leagues. Cedric Mullins isn't super old, but the guy gets on base. He's a speed demon. Numbers are a little bit down compared to the year before. So I think there's some excitement there if they can, succeed. And we saw them push last year for a playoff spot. And I think we could see that this year. But there's like 3 teams that I had picked out that I go, okay, they could possibly make it. These young teams could possibly make it if the pitching's there. And it was the Royals, the Orioles, and the Diamondbacks.
All 3 teams also could potentially lose 95 games.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's what's in common.
Yeah. And it's either if those young guys succeed and the pitching's there, they could be a team to, teams that could sneak into the, grab that final wild card spot. And I think the Orioles could do that with the young talent they have, because I think Gunnar has to be the favorite for the rookie of the year this year. Adley showed that he is top 3 catcher already in baseball. I think you could argue. And there's, like I said, there's other young pieces around. It's the starting rotation that makes you okay. Can they though?
Yeah. I think we hadn't mentioned yet. Austin Hayes has had a pretty, and I think we know who he is so far. Like, he could take it to another level, but even if he doesn't, as an outfielder, like he puts up good production to stay in the lineup. Like again, another young guy. For
Ryan Mountcastle is another younger. Yeah.
I mean, you look at this team, and they are like the opposite of what the Yankees have as far as homegrown talent. Like, I mean, in the starting offensive side of things.
Yeah, and so, like I said, if they can figure out a way, that pitching can figure something out. And I think DL Hall will be a starter in that rotation somewheres, and pretty early on. And he's shown stuff that he could be a solid rotation arm. But you're banking on 2 guys that never pitched in the majors, and then hoping that John Means can make it back at some point this year and be anywhere half as good as he was, a couple of years ago. The rotation is the biggest part. If it hits and you can figure something out, man, you got a good team maybe in the future with all the young talent.
I don't think Baltimore fans are ready for it. Could you imagine like them making it that run? That'd be exciting. But I mean, this is a great ballpark too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of history there. I hope to see it. I would
Yeah.
much rather see them make that run than the Rays. And again, we talked about the Rays, and
Mm-hmm.
they have the talent. Just I don't know. I don't think baseball fans care about the Rays. I don't think Rays fans care about the Rays. So
I mean, is there race fans?
you know what? That's a good question. I don't think they're full of baseball fans, which is
No.
surprising because it's such a huge Latin American culture influence. And then you have a team that's terrible, has won 2 World
Yeah.
Series, and they don't do anything great with the fans. You have one that puts on a great product that nobody wants to go watch and
Yeah.
nobody wants to support. I I don't know. I don't know how many Rays. I think between you and me, I've seen more Rays hats and gear than I have like out and about.
Yeah. Don't doubt that at all.
See, yeah, you know. For the record, that Devil Ray hat they had back in the days. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that one. It was such a
Mm-hmm. Me too.
same thing with the Marlins. Back when the hat that they had, we're going to get to them here in a minute, but that teal one with the
Yeah.
Marlin on, oh, man, it's such a good hat. It's such a good
Yeah.
color.
Just go back to the old school stuff. It's way better.
I know they should. So I mean, I'm hopeful. Do you think that this team can make it to I'm going to say 86 wins? That puts them 10 games over 500. 86, 76. Last year they were at 83, and they kind of stumbled the last 2
Yeah.
weeks of the season.
I think they can, but do I think they will? It's just the rotation is so bad.
So
I just don't know if it's there. If it can, what I don't know if the rotation can be there. Now, if these young guys, if Grayson Rodriguez shows anything that he was down in AAA, 13 strikeouts, per 9, and if DL Hall can come up and be a solid number 2, maybe those 2 guys with some old vet all suddenly showing out for 1 year, maybe 86. I'm going to shoot around the 83 mark again. I think that's more safe. Yeah. I don't, like I said, they didn't do anything in the offseason to bring in anyone to help, but they're banking on the young guys, and the young guys could push them. That could be the catapult that they need.
Yeah, it could be. When you talk about teams that didn't do a whole lot of right things, they did at least re-sign Rafael Devers. The Boston Red Sox won't have a whole lot of time spent on them, but they do have a former Dodger, Alex Verdugo. He's got plenty of time. I think we know who he is at this point. They did purchase the contract from the Japan Baseball League. I'm going to just say Yoshida. I can never remember how to pronounce his first name.
Yeah, I can.
Masahataka. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Masa. Yeah.
Yoshida, which I feel pretty confident about. He is projected to have a pretty solid year, and he's projected to hit in the middle of the order. And also, former Dodger Justin Turner is there. This is a mix and match, like put it together out of Duvall kind of lineup. It's nothing to be excited about. I think Boston fans got to be upset.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be upset too if Bloom was still my GM. I mean, what the guy's done to that organization is just basically ran it into the ground.
I know.
And you're not making him answer for what he did. I'd be upset if I was a Boston Red Sox fan also.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, think about how bad this team has been after being so good for, the 21st century. Like they had won more World Series titles than anybody else, correct? And like maybe the Yankees, if you can go back all the way to like 97, but they were competing so often. But what was always weird about them is they would always win and then miss playoffs, so much like the Giants. Does Chris Sale, does he pitch, let's say 50 innings this year?
Yeah, I think he looks strong so far through the spring. I think he'll be able to stay healthy enough to maybe make. I'll shoot for 17 starts.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah,
Kenley Jansen, does he get 30 saves?
I don't know if they would. No, I was kidding.
No. 30 games.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if he gets 30 saves. I think it's going to be tough. Just, there's not a whole lot about this team I like besides Rafael Devers. I like Tristan Casas. I think Casas could be a, power bat and, eventually some point in his career hit 40 home runs. But, I mean, you bring in Justin Turner, who, by the way, got hit in the face yesterday, so who knows how long he's out for.
Jeez.
And then I don't know what you've done with the team you signed Trevor Story last year. He's out for the season. He has to have Tommy John surgery. So there goes your starting.
Based.
Yeah, shortstop. You look at the team and you go, 65 wins is going to be a lot for them. I think. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't see them being successful this year, like last year.
Their offense looks like they took a bunch of scraps from other teams, especially the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Enrique Hernandez is
Yeah.
going to play shortstop. Verdugo, Justin Turner, like
Mhm.
you said, it's just a lot of those guys. So I think their goal this year should make sure they don't lose 100 games. I don't think they will, but that should be the goal. Like, please stay above that.
Yeah. I don't know how if you lose 100 games, they just need to gut the whole organization and just start over.
So it looks like it could be.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here. At least we're not making any official predictions, but right now you've heard kind of the heart behind where we think this division's going this year. We're going to move over to the NL East now, and I want to start a little bit different. I want to start with the reigning NL champs, a team that won 87 games, caught fire, and made me so mad as they beat the Cardinals in the playoffs last year. Really super fresh. I'm still not over it. I'm still not over it. So the Phillies 87-75 last year. They had a good team. I don't know that anybody looked at this team and thought, wow. But right now, I look at this team and I have some thoughts, but I want to hear you first, W. What are you thinking?
I'm not sold on what they can do. I feel like a lot of it was a lot of momentum that they got last year.
That's part of it.
The rotation besides Nola and Wheeler, where they go from there, I'm not big on Taijuan Walker. I wasn't huge on that signing. I mean, we know what Taijuan Walker is. He'll give you 15, 20 starts and he'll be out for the rest of the season. The bullpen, they tried to do some stuff, but I don't think it was enough. I mean, you got Sir Anthony Dominguez in the back. There's not, I don't know. You got Harper out for a good portion of the season,
and then he can only play DH.
Yeah, and then Rhys Hoskins. Which Rhys Hoskins are we getting? Which Alex Baum are we getting? Are we getting Alex Baum of the last month in the playoffs, or are we getting Alex Baum for the first 4 months of the season where he's getting booed off the field by his fans?
I think as far for Alec, I would say that we're probably getting that version, the post booed version. He seemed like
I would hope so.
For quite some time. Didn't enjoy watching or playing against him or watching him on the field, but I do think we're going to get him that version. He looks like a pretty decent ball player, but I would say like his cap would be kind of like a Dansby Swanson type guy. I'm not saying that because of the hair. I'm saying that just like I don't think that they're the top tier at their position ever, but I think they're good enough. Like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I like that comparison.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's just a lot of ifs. If something happens, where do they go? I mean, Realmuto, he gets hurt. You just took out arguably your best offensive weapon with Harper out.
Yeah,
Castellanos, that second half of the season for him too, was nothing like it was at the beginning of the season. So,
yeah. Well, do you think that the shift ban helps Kyle Schwarber? I mean, you talk the guy.
It probably does.
Runs. And you do have Trey Turner. I mean, we can't. That was one of my favorite signings.
Yeah, so that
it was advertised like crazy. That everybody knew it was happening, especially the
podcast.
We were on top of it.
I mean, I called it in like July.
You did, as he was a Dodger.
Yeah.
Like that.
And so, the Trey Turner deal that helps a whole lot because Trey Turner to me is arguably I think he's up there, the top 5 best players in baseball because he does everything so well. I mean, I would hope this year with the new rules, the pickoffs and stuff like that, that he has somewhere around 40 to 50 steals because he has that type of speed that he should be able to do that every single year and not even think twice about it.
Yeah, he's
so that
projected at under 28, so under 30. I hope it's
and it's because he doesn't attempt them a whole lot, which I don't get. You're not utilizing one of the deadliest weapons in baseball. You're top 3 fastest players in baseball, yet you don't use the legs like you should to help your offense. So that'll help a lot with Harper being out. But I just have a lot of questions of who's going to show up. Which version are we getting? Are we getting the version post Joe Girardi with the new management and the guys being invigorated, ready to go, or has that wore off already and we're going to see something more along the lines we did at the first half of the season of the Phillies?
Yeah, there are some really good. I mean, guys, worthwhile to go out and watch them play because of who they are.
Mhm.
Like you said, we mentioned them already, but the bottom part of the lineup is a little bit more worrisome. And what version are you getting? Even with Castellanos, I know you mentioned him, but I will say, I mean, any series that Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler both get to start, they should be winning those. But the back
Mhm.
half is where you start to get worried. I
Yeah.
just, whenever I think of the Phillies bullpen, I always think it's a work in progress, regardless of who's out there. I'll never forget JT Realmuto, that one, video of him. They were doing a mound visit like in 2019, and they were
Mhm.
doing a call to the bullpen, and he just shook his head like,
Yeah.
"Why? Who cares? This ain't gonna
Yeah.
work." So, this does look like I think has the potential to be a playoff team, though. I don't necessarily think the NL is
Mhm.
overly stacked. I think that they should be able
No.
to make a run at it. Um, I mean, any other final thoughts on them before maybe we move to? We're gonna go down the list before we go up the list, if that makes sense.
Nope, that works for me. Yeah, no, I got nothing left on the Phillies. It kind of
All right.
said all I said.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna move down. Last year we had the Marlins, who won 69 games. This team, they have players. I mean, I love Jazz Chisholm. I think he has a spark that fans
Yeah.
love to watch him play. I just don't know
Mhm.
that he can stay healthy. And I think that's been one of the biggest problems that we've seen is Jazz Chisholm just staying healthy. But Jorge Soler, Luis Ariz, Garrett Cooper, Garcia, Gene Segura, former Philly there.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. This team is scrappy. That's what I'm saying.
I look at it and I say the same exact thing I said about the Rays, but even more worried. Where's the offense come from?
Other than Jazz,
Arise, yeah, Arise is going to get on base. We know that.
but nothing
But
else.
yeah, he's not going to hit for power. He's not going to have high RBI numbers.
Yeah.
Soler, how long does he play? How long is he in the lineup? How long? How many games does he play this year? Same thing with Jazz. If Jazz is healthy, Jazz is an exciting guy to watch.
Mhm.
The pitching, it should be there. That pitching staff, if all healthy, and the young guys like Eddie Cabrera, if Yuri Perez gets a chance, that pitching staff should be one of the best in baseball.
Mhm.
And I know Cisco Sanchez, he was a big guy, in the Real Muto trade. His rookie year, he had an incredible rookie year, then got hurt and then put on all this weight. Well, now he's 40 pounds lighter. Hopefully, he can get back to what he was his rookie year. If he can, man, you talking about Alcantara, Yuri Perez, Eddie Cabrera, Trevor
Or
Rogers.
Trevor Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, and throw in Cisco, and then you have Dax Fulton also. I mean, they have the pitching prospects and stuff. They could be good and be up to their potential. That rotation could be absolutely nasty. So my proposal is take some of these young guys, and I know it may hurt your depth at some point, but you can take one or two of these high arm prospects and go out and get you some offense.
I think it could, and I think the way pitching is, you might be able to get one good piece and one solid rotation type piece. Not a
Mm-hmm.
rotation like starting rotation, but like
Yeah.
utility type player. I think you could get for this team. And you're right. And Sandy Alcantara, I mean, he is one of my favorite pitchers in the league. The way he plays just makes me hate that trade so much for stupid Marcell Ozuna. But last year dominated. This year he's projected again for over 200 innings. He just goes out there and his goal is to win the game and complete the game. Johnny Cueto, I'm not exactly excited about it. He's had a rough spring so far.
Yeah.
But as far as, I mean, you got to have somebody at times to eat up innings. And I think he's a solid, back in the rotation kind of guy to do that. You just can't expect, a top 3 guy.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance by the end of the season he's not in the rotation, and
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
see Yuri Perez. I mean, Yuri Perez is like 18, 19 years old. Kid's 6'8". He's tall, lanky, but throws hard. He has nasty stuff. He moved up through the system real fast last year.
Mm-hmm.
And someone that I think at the end of the season, because I don't think they're going to be contenders, for a playoff spot, see him get some time. Max Meyer, he's out for the. I'm guessing he's probably out for the season. Had Tommy John last year. You got Dax Fulton down there. Like I said, got great young pitching. So I wouldn't believe that Cueto will finish the season in the rotation just because of the young guys. Bring them up, give them a shot towards the end of the season. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I question where the offense is coming from. If
I think it's a good point. It's a fair argument. I mean, you look at the team, there's just not a lot to be excited about other than Jazz.
Yeah.
To some. It's a very exciting player to watch. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of a bummer. So this is considered the toughest, one of the best divisions in baseball because the top two teams. They 100 wins for both the Braves and the Mets last year. The Braves are a year removed from winning the World Series. The Mets were thought. I mean, they spent all that money. We've talked about them a little bit, so we won't hit all the same stuff about all the guys they paid this year. Good Lord, but I think they're starting to do this. Oh my goodness! Now we're actually writing these checks. So my question is, does this team live up to the hype? Do they live up to the potential that they need to?
No.
Wow. Okay. Now, obviously, they are the Mets, so that makes sense.
The, it's this old adage: the Mets are gonna Met. We know this. It will happen some point. They'll figure out some way to fall apart, and it's not something that we come to not expect. I mean, we expect this every year for them to fall apart, and I think the Braves are arguably the most deep team in baseball, and I don't even know if I can say arguably. I think they are the most deep team in baseball, top to bottom. That lineup, the pitching rotation, the bullpen, they've got it all there to make a run and should be behind the Astros, best World Series odds.
Oh yeah, yeah. And last year they had a couple big injuries for it, so that's probably what pulled them out of it. But one thing that the Mets have is a lot of offensive power on the top part of that lineup. Alonso, Lindor, Marte, Nimmo, they should be able to run the bases well. Not super sold on Nimmo, but I mean, like as far as like will he be healthy the whole year? But I mean, he's solid. Jeff McNeil, still out there as well. They love him. So it's the bottom part of the lineup I'm not as sold on, but you look at the rotation, Verlander and Scherzer, those two guys, that is not fair.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I mean,
Carlos Carrasco is no slouch, especially if he's penciled in as the fourth starter, the last day of a 4-game set. I mean, that's
if healthy.
it. Yeah, obviously, if healthy. I agree with that. That's the big caveat on all these. But still, if he is, I mean, this is a decent team. Their fifth spot in the rotation, I think, will have a little bit of a rotation on it, like cycle who's in it, who's taking it. But that's what I'm saying.
And then you got the Japanese pitcher. You got Senga coming in. He supposedly has a special pitch, I guess, like Daisuke had. It's called the ghost pitch or whatever. Basically, it's a different version of a split finger. I've seen it being thrown, and it looks gross, but everyone said the same thing about Daisuke's pitch, and he never used it. So
that news. Yeah,
the gyro ball.
Oh, good old days, man. You miss those days. And I guess junior high and high school when that was what. So, well, I guess for the Mets, then, can they get to 100 wins again this year?
I think they have a chance.
I mean, they get to play the Nationals, who, talk about on purpose, but not much. And they do get to play the Marlins, who we don't expect to win a whole lot. But
I think they could push 100 games again this year. Like you said, it'll come down to health, and is Nimmo going to do the same thing he did last year? Can McNeil win the batting title, get on base? Will Vogelbach have the type of season he had last year when he got traded to him? There's a few questions in that offense that you go, okay, yeah, we know what Lindor can do, we know what Alonso can do, we know what Marte can do. Can the rest of them repeat what they did from the year before? So we'll see. I think there's a very realistic chance that they can. I'll say probably I'll stick. I'm going to go around the 94 mark wins.
I would put 94, 95.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is still a really good team, and face them in the playoffs. But I think it just kind of sets expectations. It's also stupid hard to win 100 games in baseball. It just doesn't happen that often, or if it does, the proportion. I mean, it's just not that many people do it because it's just so hard. Well, so you got the Braves. You already mentioned best, deepest team, probably best team at depth right now in baseball, and it's Ronald Acuna Jr. healthy this year. Matt Olson here, Austin Riley, Sean Murphy, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, Marcell Ozuna, Eddie Rosario, and Vaughn Grissom, who's the reason why they didn't re-sign Dansby Swanson, because they really believe in him a lot. This is a very tough lineup. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sold on Michael Harris yet. I think this could be a slightly down year. I'm not going to guarantee it or anything like that. I just wouldn't circle him if at the end of the year, if he's still hitting in the top half of the lineup, I'm not going to be surprised, but I won't be surprised if he's in the bottom half.
No, yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, Ozuna, I'm not, crazy excited about that.
Yeah.
Rosario, he'll have to show me he can bounce back from the rough year last year, but I like Vaughn Grissom. I think he can come in and replace Swanson and probably don't miss a whole lot. Maybe defensive side is going to be where you'll see the big factor, but my biggest question, and it may be like more of a minute thing, but who's going to be the leader in the clubhouse? Back-to-back seasons, you lose Freddie Freeman, and now you lose Dansby Swanson, who was, Freeman was the leader in the clubhouse. Swanson was leader in the clubhouse last year. Who's going to be that guy to step up and be that leader? Can Acuna be that guy? I don't know. I feel like his personality not known probably to be a leader. I think the person that you look at is probably going to be Austin Riley.
Yeah,
he seems like he's got the more kind of like the Freddie Freeman type demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
So he may be the guy, but I think that's a big thing. I don't think people really are looking at going there. You have to have that leader in the clubhouse, and so that's the one thing I'm worried about. But man, that rotation. You got Freed, you got Wright, you got Strider, who came out of nowhere last year and
strikes everybody out.
Yeah,
every single time.
Charlie Morton, you got Anderson, and then there's one guy that no one's even talking about because he hasn't played baseball in 2 years, and it's Michael Soroka. If Soroka can come back and be anything, what he was, he's still super young.
Yeah,
the 2 Achilles injuries that makes you scared, but we saw Michael Soroka. And we thought what we thought about when we look at Max Fried and go, that's the ace of the staff.
Yep.
And if he can get some of that back and just be a good back at the end of the rotation or just be a solid guy in the bullpen this year, man, that they are deep.
Yeah.
Someone gets hurt, spot start. Yeah, it's scary how good that rotation can be.
I think it's a great point you bring him up. He hasn't really pitched. He pitched a tiny bit in 2020, but really – that was in 2019, the year of the juiced ball. He had 29 starts, 174 innings. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he gets a lot of left on base guys. He gets a lot of ground balls. I think that's a great point to add to the depth, and it's hard to say depth when a guy's been out for 2 years. But I think that's a great point. And Spencer Strider is one of those guys who just he throws gas and he locates well, and he uses his off pitches so well that keeps hitters off balance. He did that really well last year. It's a matter of, so here we are, second year. Can he put up a full season? 160 innings, 165. That's a hard part. But you look at the rotation. Yeah. It's annoying. It is annoying how good this rotation is. Yeah. Just in the top half of this lineup. But if there is one thing, I think the clubhouse thing is extremely important to bring up, because you look at this team and no one's like super, super young other than Vaughn Grissom, but there's not a whole lot here that you'll look at in the they're all relatively young into that scope of leadership. And will that play a factor if you hit that rut, which last year, let's be honest, they hit that rut last year. Dansby Swanson, like you mentioned before, was a part of that. And we were like, well, look at this team. All they're doing is striking out, and they came back and won 100 games. So they have proved to be able to bounce back. I would pencil them in as, in my mind, the contending team to watch out for in the NL. Like if you had to ask, and they've done it recently, so why not?
Yeah.
We'll see. I
agree.
I hate the Braves. I just don't enjoy watching the Braves because they've been good for so long.
Yeah, and there was one last thing I want to hit about the Braves, and is the fact that the front office was able to sign up pretty much all the young guys, and at the prices that they were able to sign them up at is just incredible. I mean, you got Albies playing for $5 million a year. One of the best second basemen in baseball, playing for $5 million a year. Acuna's playing for 12.5.
I know, it's insane.
The fact that they were able to swing this,
insane.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah, next week you all tune in because we're going to have some conversations about contracts and the ridiculousness that's going out there, maybe in the football world, but still, it's insane.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I want to talk real briefly, not long, briefly about the worst team in baseball, I think. It's the Washington Nationals. Do you disagree?
I mean, no.
Pirates are-
I penciled like 3 teams. I go, okay, this team could be the worst team. This team could be the worst team. And this team could possibly be the worst team. But if you're looking at teams, yeah, they're probably the worst team.
Okay. Well, they got Lane Thomas, Corey Dickerson, 2 former Cardinals that neither of them ever panned out. Joey Manessa, Kyber Ruiz. There's a guy. CJ Abrams. I think they're going to call him up this year after sending him down
Yeah.
after grading for him. Make no sense. Victor Robles never panned out. This team is not great. Patrick Corbin right now, as it stands, is listed as their day 2 starter.
That's gross.
Come on now. What are they doing?
Yeah, no. I don't understand why they didn't just kind of say, all right, here's your money, just go. We don't even want you on the team. I'll take the hit. Just go.
Just get off the team, man. You're so bad.
Yeah. We joke about the Strasburg deal being so bad, but that deal for Corbin.
At least Patrick Corbin's eating up innings, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. At least he's pitching. Pitching.
The Strasburg one is brutal.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to be excited about them. I guess the one question I'm going to have for you is, do they lose 110 games?
Oh,
that's a lot of games to lose.
That's a lot of games.
They lost 107 last year.
Oh, but see, I think there's one thing that may work in their favor. I just shouldn't say work in their favor. I should say it could work in either way. Either you got these young guys that could come up and no one knows them, don't know how to, don't have scouting reports on them too much, and maybe lose maybe 100 games, or it could go absolutely the opposite way, and it just be the young guys not being able to play because they've got some young guys down in the minor leagues. You got Abrams, who should be up in the majors. You got Cavalli, who I'm huge on. I think Cavalli could be a front of the rotation guy. You got Josiah Gray, who had some issues last year. Ruiz, Mackenzie Gore. And so there's some younger guys down the minor leagues that may get up and have a chance to help the team. And so maybe since they don't have scouting reports on them, may be able to help in their favor to not lose 110 and lose more closer to the 100. Or it could just absolutely backfire and they lose like 120 games.
Dude, yeah, it's all over the place. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that Dave Martinez is the manager at the end of the year, but I think we could get into projections about managers. We do that in the NFL, so we might do that later on for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have time for. But next week, y'all bring some popcorn, bring something, because one, we're going to break down a little bit of some stuff from the NFL, some news and notes, but as well as our 2 divisions that we really, really love. So, I mean, we may just get comfortable, just get real comfortable, because we might spend a little extra time on those teams. So hopefully, if you know a Cardinal fan or maybe a Dodgers fan, and they don't already know about the Dub Squad, the W Sports Podcast is here for them. It's just like it is. It's here for you guys. And we thank you so much for joining today. It was a great crew here in the chat over on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, whatever it is. All that's in the description of the show. So be sure to go check it out. And don't forget, next week is March Madness.
Uh-oh.
Right? Come on. We're going to have a contest on ESPN with our bracket. So make sure whenever you fill out your bracket, just add it to the group. That's all you got to do. Add it to the group. You're going to create a brand new one, just the one that you're going to create because you're a sports fan. Add it to the group. We'll put that in the link of the description too.
That easy.
Easy. All right. Well, I guess that's it, man. We will see y'all next week.
See ya.